Welcome back. Continuing the news. A joint select committee of both houses of Parliament has been established to review a bill aimed at reforming the Bank of Jamaica, BOJ. The Bank of Jamaica Amendment Act 2018 is promising sweeping changes in how the entity operates. TVJ's Janella Precious reports.
In introducing the bill in the lower house, Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark stressed its importance, outlining the need to modernize the Bank of Jamaica in keeping with international standards. The amendment aims to, among other things, improve the governance structure of the central bank, give it greater autonomy and independence in law, and introduce transparency over monetary policy decisions. The Finance Minister further noted that there's also a need for the BOJ's mandate to be clarified.
We're now benefiting from a period of low inflation. The purpose of the reform is to ensure that we institutionalize low, stable, and predictable inflation indefinitely.
For his part, opposition spokesman on finance Mark Golding noted that the legislation will put the central bank on the right footing for the future.
It represents a continuity of policy, which is important, but in these matters, often the devil is in the details, and it's important to get the details right. And we will look forward to participating in the national interest to ensure that that is done.
The members of the Joint Select Committee from the lower house are Dr. Nigel Clark, Delroy Chuck, Floyd Green, Favour Williams, Leslie Campbell, Peter Bunting, and Dr. Wickham McNeil. Janella Precious, TVJ News. And I'm now joined by the Governor of the Bank of Jamaica, Brian Winter. Mr. Winter, thank you so much for joining us. Very importantly, this amendment to the bill, to the BOJ Act. Can you tell us the importance? I mean, we heard from the minister. He said that it is important in terms of modernizing the BOJ. But if you can put it in context for us.
Well, I would say, and thank you very much for having me today. I'd say that an independent central bank. That is a bank that's a modern, efficient, transparent, accountable central bank that has a focus on low and stable inflation. That's the best way to preserve the value of the currency, and that's a good thing for Jamaica, the economy, and it's also a good thing for the Jamaican people.
Now, on the issue of inflation, one of the things that stood out for me in the discussion in Parliament is that Mr. Clark noted that one of the benefits is having a mandate to target inflation and make inflation the primary objective. Can you expound on that point for us?
Well, inflation targeting is, I think, is an important next step. It's a way to focus the central bank. It simplifies what the central bank is supposed to do. And as we have learned, and I think this is in the economy as it is in business, that you want professionals to be focused on a goal rather than trying to do multiple different things at the same time, some of which may conflict and certainly can create confusion in the economy, can create confusion on the part of observers who are trying to figure out what are you doing. And what we've seen is that focusing on inflation, which is the price that people pay for goods and services, controls or tries to control the thing that matters to the ordinary Jamaican, in fact, Jamaicans across the spectrum. And so inflation targeting recognizes that, simplifies the mandate of the bank so that it is focused. And that allows you to hold it accountable for the outcome, for the result. And that, we think, is more likely to deliver stability in prices over the long term.
And in a modernized BOJ, sir, I think it is also very important, the depreciation of the Jamaican dollar. Can you tell us about how it will impact or will not affect depreciation, and if any at all? Well,
the exchange rate is a price, in fact. It's a price of money. So, and it affects other prices. So by targeting inflation, which is essentially looking at all the prices and managing it and keeping its change low, you also limit the way in which the exchange rate will move. But I do want to be clear that for you to target inflation, it's important that you have flexibility in the exchange rate so that you're not caught up in a mixed confusion of approaches as you shift from trying to fix an exchange rate or hold it stable to then trying to stabilize prices, and you go back and forth, and the net result can be and has been that you don't really manage both of them well. You should focus on one, and by focusing on inflation, you're focusing on the one that encompasses the exchange rate as well.
All right, and I have a final question. I know that I'm getting the wrap-up time, but I just want to get that in. What are the ideal conditions for making the transition to central bank independence and inflation targeting? And is this a good time for Jamaica?
Well, I think that there are quite a number of conditions that you need to ideally meet. But this is a good time. In fact, I think this is a very good time for Jamaica. This comes, as Jamaicans would know, as just the next step in a process of difficult but successful economic reform over the last several years that has spanned political administrations. So there's a consensus around it that is delivering results. Most countries that have moved to inflation targeting and independent central banks, they've done so at a time of crisis, in a response to some crisis that's occurred. In Jamaica, I think we have economic conditions now that are better than they've ever been. And that people should let that sink in a little bit. But these are, from a macroeconomic perspective, as good as they've ever been, or better. So we are making this transition as Parliament goes through and looks at these proposals. Once they decide on it, we're making it at a time when Jamaica is actually moving at a time of relative economic strength. And we think that this will have a positive impact on anybody who thinks about investing over the medium and long term. This kind of reform and a stronger, more effective central bank that's focused on inflation allows people to take away from that equation of their difficult investment decisions the question of what will the value of the Jamaican dollar be. Will inflation eat it away? They should be able to look at the targets set by the government that this bank is going to meet on a regular basis and be satisfied and confident that that is what will actually occur.
Okay, thank you so much. I've been speaking to the governor of the Bank of Jamaica, Mr. Brian Winter, and no doubt we will continue to monitor this story as it develops. Doreen, it's back to you.